I would never guess, and the reason I wouldn't guess is because we've tried to guess. I've been involved with guesses in the past, and we've always been like completely wrong. So, I mean, if you think about the Xbox generation, Nintendo finished dead last, with GameCube, and it seemed like things were over for Nintendo. We were doing projections for Xbox 360 about what we thought maybe our market share would be, what we thought Sony's would be, and never really worried that much about Nintendo. And of course, if you count units sold, in this latest generation, Nintendo's beat everybody. So no, I wouldn't guess. I think the lesson to take away from this last generation was that innovation is the most important thing. I mean, Nintendo came out with this Wii. It looked very different, acted very different than everything else. It had this innovative new control scheme. And that's what gamers want. I mean, they want something new, something different. They don't want yet another sequel of the thing that they've played before. Entertainment's entertaining because it's new and surprising and different. And so I think whichever console does the most interesting new stuff is going to win. I think in the game business, we get caught up in a lot of kind of superstitions that things were always done a certain way, so they have to be done a certain way. And really, it's Apple that's come in with their success and iPhones and iPad and broken a lot of the old rules, almost by accident. I mean, I don't think Apple really meant to launch a gaming product, and so they didn't care if they were doing things not the gaming way. But the fact is, iPad, they upgrade it every year, and it hasn't been a huge problem for game developers on that platform. And so I'd say we can look at Apple's success as a model that could be imitated in the console world. Games are the art form of the 21st century. And, we respect great painting, we respect great books. And I think in the future, people will respect great games as things that communicate important things about what it is to be a human being and to be on this planet together. I think for me, some of the ones that resonate the most are some that are really simple and pure, like Limbo is a good example. It's purely black and white, and you only scroll one direction, but it's a very simple, pure experience that works. I'm playing a lot of games these days. I'm not sure how many I'd say are art. I play Halo with my kids. I let them play. There are other games. We don't play Call of Duty, for example. So I'm a little conflicted in that. But they know Halo is like a special exception in our house. Because I was involved with it.
Another child of yours, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. But I don't really worry about that. I mean, this has been a hot topic in the U.S., gun violence, and there was a great chart somebody put out that mapped gun violence to video game usage by country. Mm-hmm. And the U.S., it turns out, is about in the middle as far as per capita video game use. Mm-hmm. Basically, this chart was like a flat line, so everywhere other than the U.S., gun violence was really low. U.S. gun violence is way up here, but video game usage was much more some places and much less other places. There's no correlation between video game play and violence and real-world violence. So I think, so I don't worry about it in that sense because I know the facts. Actually with Halo, it was the ESRB, the U.S. rating agency, that we had problems with. They originally they did an early look on Halo, and they said they thought it was going to be teen rated. And so we had all our marketing materials with T on it, and all our stands and the stores. And we'd been going back and forth with them, exchanging versions, and they said, well, there's just a few things we don't like. If you shoot your own soldiers, blood comes out. And we're like, okay, we'll get rid of that. And they had a few things like that weren't core to the gameplay. And then September 11th happened. If you remember, 9/11, 2001, we launched in November of 2001. And so when we went back to get our final certification, they looked at the game again and they said, we think that the totality of the combat is too violent. And we said, well, that we're not going to change. So we put everything back in and we just accepted the M rating. You know, it's kind of a funny time right now where it's almost like we've stepped back into the past. Like we've gone back 15 years as far as team sizes and budgets, and then we're moving forward again from there. And you know, with the breakdown of the kind of the traditional publisher infrastructure for funding smaller games, there was really a gap, and Kickstarter's filled that gap, which has been fantastic. You know, it's been a long thing. It's been a 10-year plus process where the publishers are saying, I'm going to focus on a smaller number of higher quality games. And so then they do even bigger budgets, and they do less of them. And they look at how those perform, and then they say, I need to do an even smaller number of even higher quality games. And it's just led them down this narrowing path. And so you don't get the mid-tier games anymore. If you go like a company like Airtight, we go in and we pitch games, and they don't want to make a game that costs $10 million anymore. They want to make a game that costs $1 million or a game that costs $100 million, which is a huge gap. You know, somebody like Kim Swift, creator of Portal, says, I have this idea for a really cool game and it's going to cost about $10 million to make. Turns out that's a really hard pitch to make right now. Things don't change as fast as people think they will. You know, so people predict the death of the consoles. If consoles die, it's going to be a slow process, not a fast process. Death of retail is going to be the exact same thing. It's going to be something very slow. In fact, a lot of digital companies, pure digital, are discovering retail. Discovering, oh, I can take my purely digital product, put it on a disc in Walmart, and make a bunch of sales. You know, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of people that go into Walmart every day, you know, and if they see your thing on the shelf, they might just pick it up. So, you know, I wouldn't even be surprised if this, so you get kind of a resurgence of retail where you have these digital products coming to retail.